Hello and welcome once again to Boomer 11. And today we're going to be talking about the matches that we played yesterday, and of course the match that we're going to be watching today. I have with me Abel right here. Abel, let's talk about yesterday's matches first. We had, Belgium and Canada, Switzerland and Cameroon, where Switzerland inched through with a one-goal win, and then a goalless draw between Uruguay and South Korea, and the GOAT, Portugal, where Cristiano Ronaldo became the first ever player to score in 5 World Cups, and also Portugal's oldest ever goal scorer. He's also the youngest ever goal scorer, by the way. And then, of course, the Brazilian team, opened their tally as well in the group stage. Overall, how was yesterday in terms of the FIFA World Cup, and how did the teams progress? And which player do you reckon has impressed you the most?
Yeah, firstly, great to be back once again talking about football. And if I have to talk about yesterday's day at large, it was a good day of football. And you saw again teams competing against each other. They did give the smaller teams did give the bigger teams a lot of fight. One of the notable fights given was Ghanaian team who really went up against Portugal. They had the chances. They really took the game to the deep. And unfortunately, it was Portugal's quality which outclassed the Ghanaian team. You knew that Ghanaian team they lacked skill in many areas, in many fronts, especially in the midfield. That's why I thought Portugal really had that upper hand. And you saw when there was physicality, when there was technique of which was deployed of the Portugal team, they did dominate the midfield. And Ghanaian team losing possessions in the middle of the park was one of the reasons why even they went on to lose the match, which resulted in important attacks, especially in the second and the third goal, which Portugal scored. It was Ghanaian team's mistake of losing the ball possession right in the middle of the park after they had equalized. But they'll take a lot of heart out of the kind of performance they did, especially in the first half. They were very composed. They maintained the shape. They knew they wouldn't be able to come up and compete as strong as a Portuguese team because of the difference in quality, of course. And at the same time, you have to also understand um, it's never easy, especially when you're coming up against a strong team like Portugal. You always have to, give it. You'll always have to be on an A game more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Also, let's talk about the first match, and then let's break it one by one. Obviously, yesterday the first match was. We did speak about how Switzerland and Cameroon were two teams, who are coming to this World Cup, especially Switzerland, who are looking a very good team. They've played some great matches as well in the past. But talking about yesterday, well, they did have a one-goal win where Embolo scored their winning goal, and Cameroon ended up losing that match. While the second match, while I wait for Able to join in, is was between Uruguay and South Korea, where two teams could never really get going. Not enough shots on target as well. Where Uruguay was the only team who was able to get a shot on target, and both the teams, the attacking play was not up to the mark. You would say for them to get breach through and score a goal. Well, on the other hand, yes, the Portugal match where Portugal won the game 3-2 was a very close encounter where Ronaldo's penalty opened the goal scoring, but then Andre Ayew hit the second equalized. But right after he was subbed off, how Felix's 78-minute goal, and then again Rafael Leo's 80th minute right after the substituted made sure that they had a 3-1 lead, and then Usman Bukhari scored in the 89th minute. But there was, however, one slip by Iñaki Williams, which could have made it 3-3 after the mistake by Diego Costa, the Portuguese goalkeeper, but he couldn't convert because he slipped right before he could take the shot. And then, of course, you had Brazil, who had a very comprehensive victory, you would say, against the Serbian team, where two goals were scored, one both by Richarlison. One of them already touted to be the best goal of the tournament. So yeah, I mean that was the whole highlights package yesterday. But that's pretty much what happened yesterday, and we also look at some of the matches today. As I am waiting still for able to join back in. If you look at today's matches, I think today we have an exciting lineup, especially right towards the end. We have starting off tomorrow. We have Wales versus Iran in a group which has already had which has already had a round of fixtures done, where England are right on top in this group. Wales haven't, drew their first match. They'll be hoping to win this one and get to the top. while they are facing up against Iran, who couldn't win that match and couldn't really impress. Who will be hoping to, make a comeback in this one. And then Qatar, the host nation, face off against Senegal, against another team. I mean, where another team, Senegal, where we did feel that Senegal had a very good chance, but then they did seem to miss the finishing abilities of Sadio Mane in their first game. And then at 9:30 here at local time, we have Netherlands face against Ecuador, the team that outstood the host teams Qatar in their first match against Netherlands, which looked really good in their first match as well. And then finally, towards the end, or rather, if you're in India, if you're in India right here with us, tomorrow morning at 12:30, or if you're elsewhere, later tonight, it will be England who are going to face off against USA, probably the most important match of the day. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the lineup that we have today. And yeah, thank God Abel is back. It seems, thank God Abel you're back, because I was running out of things to say really. But let's start with the first match. I mean, let's start with yesterday's few matches. Let's just run the viewers through what happened yesterday. We had the first match of Switzerland versus Cameroon, where Switzerland broke through with that one goal of Embolo. How did that match really progress, and how good did the Switzerland team look?
I mean, we did expect Switzerland to have a very good game, but at the same time, Cameroon also were very, very compact in terms of their defensive acumen. Cameroon did have their chances, but ultimately, I thought Switzerland were the better team on the park in terms of their midfield ability, in terms of them progressing the ball up front, and the way they kept their shape and composure in the in the back line also was very impressive in yesterday's game. Akanji had a very good game. If you're talking on the front, even in the midfield, Chaka had a decent game out there. But Cameroon will have to really improve. And as I was also hearing in the background about how you were talking to the Brazil game, um, I thought it was a statement which was issued by the Brazilian team. I thought yesterday was going to be Brazil's toughest game because of the quality of opposition which Serbia had. But then Serbia had no answers against the Brazilian attack. Brazil could have easily scored 7 goals in that game. It was some of the chances which I think they should have converted. This could have been a 7 or a 6-0 kind of a win. Brazil missed a lot of chances as well from the open play. The number of and a couple of times the ball went down to hit the bar as well. But ultimately, I still think Brazil will be very pleased with the performance they had. And Richarlison's goal, what a goal that was! Possibly that was a goal of the tournament. He's been in fine form with the Brazilian team. Whenever he dons the Brazilian outfit, he's a player who's unstoppable for the Brazilian team. And I think he's continuing that good runner form which he's been having with the Brazilian team. And once again, credit to Chiche for starting him ahead of Gabriel Jesus. It can be very tempting to start a striker who's in fine form in the Premier League, who's been scoring goals and also involving in the play a lot more. Someone like Gabriel Jesus, but then he went in with a player who's done exceedingly well for Brazil and who fits into the system. Once again, going back to the philosophy which we have been again telling, right? Coaches do prefer players who will fit into the system a lot more, who have been playing in the system, who has got the chemistry in the team.
Absolutely, you're right. That's what we saw yesterday with Brazil. It was a clinical performance. However, you're right. They did miss a lot of chances. What about the Ghana versus Portugal? I mean, you already spoke about it a little bit, but let's speak about it specifically. That one chance where Iñaki Williams could have possibly converted it into a 3-3 match. Run me through that really, and what is the mistake that Diego Costa caused, and why wasn't the player offside, or why couldn't the goalkeeper actually claim? Run me through some of the legalities of it.
I mean, it wouldn't have been offside either way. It would have been a goal because
Because the goalkeeper was ahead, yes.
yeah,
And the
goalkeeper was ahead and the ball was in play and it was from a goal kick. So the chance of it being offside, it would have gone 50-50. I still think it would have been a goal if Inaki Williams wouldn't have slipped because the goalkeeper had the control of the ball and the play was done. It was a new play which would have been initiated from there on. I thought Diogo Costa really did not see him. He was very nervous towards the latter half. There was pressure which was mounting on the Portuguese team after that second goal, which was scored by Bukhari. And of course, he did the celebration as well to let the Portuguese team know that the game is not over. I thought that was pretty funny. And I like that. I like that kind of thing which came up from the Ghanaian team. But yeah, Diogo Costa, though he had a very good game up front, he was progressing. He was coming up front to clear the ball. His distribution skills were on point, but I still thought he was very nervous. He did make a couple of mistakes in both the goals. I still think he could have possibly done better even in that last. It could have well been a 3-3 game, and the blame would have completely been on Diogo Costa after all the hard work done by the midfielders and the attackers, and also certain I thought defense were a little slightly jaded as well by the Portuguese team, especially Danilo. Cancelo did not have a very good game, especially in the back line. Especially his defensive gameplay was pretty poor yesterday, and also Ruben Diaz, the City players, both of them did not really step up. They were making a lot of mistakes, especially for them to let go of the first goal, and also in the second goal. I thought Cancelo should not have let that cross happen. Um, and that's what I would say. Ultimately, I still think Portugal deserved that win. Portugal could have won that game 3-1 ideally, or even 3-0, but it is what it is. But we're talking about the penalty. I think it's not penalty. Everybody is saying it now. It was not a penalty. It was ball first. But then it is the experience of Cristiano Ronaldo of I won't use that term, but it is the experience of Cristiano Ronaldo to fall in the box and ask for the penalty. And I think with the kind of VAR system which has been in place, I still think the VAR could have been used in that situation. I was very surprised when the VAR wasn't used in yesterday's game for that particular call. You do not know, because Ghana started opening up when that first goal went in. Or else this could have possibly been a nil-nil draw or even 1-1, or who knows. Ghana could have possibly gotten a goal. It could have gone either way. After that first goal, the momentum shifted towards Portugal, and after that equalizer, though the equalizer came, the momentum was certainly with Portuguese team after that first goal, because they started believing a lot more that we can penetrate through the Ghanaian defense. The counterattacks were more direct, and Ghanaian defense also were faltering a lot, especially the two balls they lost in the midfield, which led to those two goals. It could have been corrected, and especially in the second goal, which how Felix scored. The defense line. I mean, it was a defender who failed to mark Felix when the ball was coming through. It was a direct ball which was coming through, and he was caught in that trap. And happen. You're on mute.
That match did have a lot of exciting. A lot of exciting highlights. You would say, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo. There was a lot of focus on him as well. How do you rate his performance yesterday? He had the penalty, yes, but other than that, he made some very good runs into the Ghanaian box, isn't it?
Um, Yeah, I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo did have its presence, did have his moments as well, especially in yesterday's game, because he was someone who wanted to prove a point. You knew that from that word goal, that he was very emotional from the national anthems, that he knew this is his last World Cup leading the team. So there was a lot of emotional factors to the game yesterday, which he had. But then ultimately, I thought Ronaldo's presence did come in handy as well, though he did not have a larger impact in the game. But one player who really did have the impact was Bruno Fernandes. We keep telling about him, we keep praising about him. Enough praise is not good enough for him, because that's the kind of impact he has whenever he dons that Portuguese t-shirt. Once again, a player who's of a supreme quality. He can play in that free roaming role, uh, and also to be talking about the way in which Bruno Fernandes was really controlling that game from the middle of the park. He was able to make those in behind runs, link up the play, help those strikers to get in position, and having him right behind someone like Howard Felix and Cristiano Ronaldo really helps this team as well. And Otavio as well, though he not really the impact of his game not really show in the scoreline, but
Yeah. All right. That's fair enough, Abel. Let's move on now to the matches we have today. Let's start with the first one, which is going to happen, which we have right here. In a few minutes, which is Wales versus Iran, and two teams. Obviously, Wales have had it 1-1 draw with USA. Iran, on the other hand,
lost Jaren
outclassed
there.
their.
I think we're
Yeah,
facing some network issues with Jaren's audio. So
yeah.
meanwhile, he
Is it better
reconnects.
now?
Yeah, it's better. It's better. Go ahead.
Yeah. As I was saying, we have a first match between Wales and Iran a few minutes from now, just 45 minutes to go. And Wales obviously had their first goalless draw in their match with USA. On the other hand, Iran was outclassed by England. Now, today's match, do you reckon it's going to be another easy win for the first ever win for Wales, or Iran is really going to make a comeback and show what they're all about?
I mean, it's going to be tough to be very honest, because for Iran, they would be very deflated with what had happened in the last game against England. The defense was opened up on either side. Yeah, on the wings also it was open up, on the flanks also it was open up, and also to the center, which they are very compact about. If you look at the Iranian side, compactness in the back line, which I thought was exposed big time. And now going ahead for Iranian side, at least they would want to maintain that shape, which is going to be so important in a game like this. Now, I think it's going to be upon the Iranian defense to stay compact against this Welsh side, because someone like a Dan James is going to be an attacking threat, especially on the wings, and also Gareth Bale. You know, he's become more. He's not the most paciest player out there on the park, unlike before, but still his presence of penetrating through the defense, his passing skills, everything is going to be important. I also think Aaron Ramsey has got a huge role to play. If Iran is going, I'm pretty sure if Iran is going to maintain a low block and let Wales play around, which is going to be the case. But in the last game, you saw Wales keeping a low block and let US come, and they were absorbing the pressure a lot more. But today's game, I'm expecting it to be evenly matched compared to any other match. They will still feel confident attacking against Wales rather than if they were coming up against an English team or even a US team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to deploy their tactics. Ideally for them, they would want to play on the counters, because that's why Iranian team has been successful over the last 4 years, especially with Terami up there in the up front. If you give Iranian team any chance, they are going to grab it. So I personally think it's going to be a lot more closer. Don't judge the Iranian team with the kind of performance they had against England. I thought it was the sheer quality of English team which outclassed that Iranian side. I'm not saying Wales team is not quality, but the fact is that English team's quality is way more superior than a lot of teams in this World Cup. And that was an English team who played at their ultimate best. And though they scored 2 goals, I think they'll be able to take a lot of positives from that penetration kind of chances they got. Whatever chances they got, I thought they capitalized it pretty well. So today it's all going to be about the kind of chances they're able to grab as well. So Adil Tarami once again will have an important role to play for the Iranian side.
All right. Now let's talk about the fantasy 11 then for that match between the two of them. Run me through this, because there are some superstars, especially on the Welsh side, that are going to come on the pitch. So run me through what is your ideal fantasy lineup for this match.
I mean, if I have to talk about an ideal fantasy lineup, it's important to, of course, go in with some of the attacking options, because, it is about it. I think today's game is going to be about the ones who can create a lot more chances and penetrate through. So we have gone with, of course, Tarami. We've gone with Gareth Bale and Harry Wilson up front, and in the midfield we had to go in with a Safi and a Nora Lai. And Aaron Ramsey should be a must in that team, because he's someone who can play in that creative role, and at the same time, if he can get behind and score one or two out there, he can be on the points list as well. So we have gone with Bale and Tarami as your captain, vice captain options. Now, when it comes to the backline, we've gone with a Welsh dominant backline line. With Hennessy, with Ben Davies, with Chris Meffem, and also Joe Roden, and we've gone with one defender from Milan, that is Morteza for Langanji. I think you can still go in with a lot more Iranian defensive players, because they've been a good team on the back. If they don't give that Welsh team that opportunity to penetrate through in the back line, if they remain compact, I think it's a good team to go in with. They can also possibly keep a clean sheet. Don't be surprised if it's another 0-0 draw today. But I still think the scoreline might not be a huge one. It could be possibly a 1-0 win, at max a 2-0, and high chance of this being a 0-0 draw.
All right, all right. So let's talk about the next match then. Very quickly, as we have a lot of matches coming up today. Cable, what do you reckon about the next match that is coming up straight up after this, after the Welsh versus Iran game?
I mean, Welsh was an Iran game. Today we have a couple of games, especially the host nation is playing against Senegal, and also Ecuador taking on
Yeah.
Netherlands. So gonna be two interesting games, I believe so. Especially for Senegal team, they are slightly under pressure, because they have to win today to stay alive in the tournament. With the kind of tournament they've had so far, I personally think they'll really have to up their game from here on. Especially they had their moments in the Dutch game, especially they came very close to scoring a couple of goals. They were unable to finish it off. So they are the superior side coming up against the Qatar team, because Qatar team did not really show what they can possibly do. They were very underconfident in that game, and hence Senegal will start as a favorites. But at the same time, the home crowd, the support, if they can really rejuvenate and come back strong, I still think Qatar has got their chances. It is for Qatar to really go out there and put up a show.
All right. What about the fantasy 11 for that match between Senegal and Qatar? How would that line up today?
Yeah, so this is a fantasy lineup we have gone with for today's game, because we have still mixed up a lot of players, but at the same time, do not write off a Qatarian team after that first performance. They were very, very nervous because it was their first World Cup at home. Usually, you don't see that from the home nations, but it just felt like the pressure got to them very highly, and hence they were unable to really deliver. But today, I think they'll focus a lot better. They'll come back. They'll try to come back stronger because Felix Sanchez is an experienced coach, and I expect a lot from Akram Afif as well in this lineup. So we've gone with Akram Afif, Nicholas Jackson, Ismail Sarr up front. We've gone with Papa Gay, Homams Ilamin from the Qatarian team, and also Nampali Menti. Nampali Menti is going to be an important choice in your team. Um, or else you can also go if you have to talk about the Senegal team, you can go with the Koyate. Koyate is a good option to have in the midfield. Not pretty sure, not quite sure how big was his injury in the last game, because I thought in the last game he had a very big factor to play, especially until he left the pitch. Senegal were in the control, especially in the midfield. They were able to recover the balls pretty well. He was able to keep that composure, and he's also a leadership role. He also plays a leadership role in the Senegalese team. I thought after his injury, the momentum shifted totally to the Dutch team, and it was Dutch all over the Senegalese team. So today's game, I really hope Kouyaté starts. I hope the injury wasn't bad. So if Kouyaté starts, I think he's going to be an important option to keep in your fantasy team, because he can give you a lot of options. And also Mwepu, also Casado. Casado is going to be an important option. Casado had a good game against uh, the Netherlands as well. So Casado is another option whom you can try in today's game.
Fair enough. Let's go to the next game then. Netherlands versus Ecuador. The game where Netherlands have obviously gotten the best of their opponents in the first game, and Ecuador as well against Qatar did look very good. So, how do you reckon that match is going to progress today? Especially, we're going to be seeing the likes of Ina Valencia back again on the pitch.
Yeah, I really hope Enna Valencia is back on the field again, because the last time he had gotten injured twice, but not once but twice. So I hope that injury wasn't bad enough that would keep him out for at least a couple of games. Because for this Ecuadorian team today, they would need Enna Valencia's threat up front for them to capitalize on the chances. They did have a very very good game against Qatar. It was the opening game. They did have a lot of chances. They controlled the game a lot more. They kept their composure, and especially about their defense as well. The defense wasn't tested enough, is what I felt. But in today's game, it's going to be a different test. They're coming up against a very strong Netherlands team. You can say they had a scratchy win against the Senegalese team, but then you can never write off this Dutch team. Dutch team always will come up strong, and they've got a very good team. Especially if you look at that kind of if you look at the kind of players they've got, if you look at the kind of squad depth they've got, I think it's going to be a very interesting game to watch.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Final game then, Abel. We have that is England. I mean, did we speak about the fantasy about fantasy 11? No, right?
No, we're not.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Then let's start with the fantasy 11 for this game. How
Yeah,
do
as I already
you?
mentioned, as I already mentioned, Casero is another option you can go in with today's game because of what he can bring. He had a very good game for Ecuadorian team in the first game, so he's going to be an important choice to have in your midfield. But at the same time, I think you can go in with the Inner Valencia as well, because his attacking threat up front is going to be so important. And if you look at the way in which Inner Valencia has developed in the last couple of years, you can say in club football it does not make a lot of noise, hue and cry, because of what he really brings into the table. But at least in this game, I personally think he's going to play an important role in the kind of game he has got, in the kind of compactness he's got, especially up front. And if you have to talk about a Dutch team, you have to go in with a Gakpo. He's been showing terrific form throughout. He's been looking much more attacking than ever. And his versatility is another reason why you should be having him in your team. But at the same time, I also feel that you can try out a Memphis Depay as well. There are high chances that he will start today. The last match, they did not really risk him because he was still injury prone. But in today's game, I think he's going to be a lot more potent up front. Him linking up with Gakpo is going to be an interesting strike partnership to watch. So if you have Gakpo, what you can get is you can get creativity at the same time as scoring option, and you can also go with the Frankie De Jong. So this is our team for today. We've gone with Gakpo, we've gone with Valencia, and Memphis Depay up front. Then you can go with Klaas De Jong and Casado in the midfield. Estupinan, it should be a sure start, and with Preciado, with the kind of form he showed in that game against Qatar. And you can also try with the Hincapi. Hincapi is a good player to go in with if you do not want to go with the Matheus Delight. and also in the goalkeeping front, you can go with the Andres Noppert. So these are your options. Try to go in with players who can create a lot more. So with Preciado and Estupinan in the wings on your right back, as your right back and left back option, they can create a lot more. And with Virgil van Dijk, you have that high possibility of Netherlands keeping another clean sheet. His interception rates are high quality, and also you can go with the Nathan Ake as well, because Nathan Ake seems to be the preferred starter over Matthew Delict. and and another option, you can go in with the Daily Blind. Daily Blind can be another option. You can go in because he plays a left center back or a left back for this team, and his creativity might not be the best, but he can also be a good defensive option you can go in with in today's game.
All right. Well, that's pretty much the fantasy 11 for Netherlands versus Ecuador. And the final game today then we have is England versus USA.
I think we can
The
talk about that game once we come back for live tonight. Tonight, I think that's going to help the viewers a lot more to understand. So we'll come back
All
tonight. We'll
right.
talk about it later then. So you may filling them with a lot of fantasy 11. It's going to really get boring as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, talking about that fact, I think we've got some questions. Meanwhile, we'll try to take them. I think Natasha is the only one who has asked this question. So yeah, I mean, she has told Portugal, I hope they win. Yeah, with Portugal, I personally think this is an opportunity for Portugal to really go all the way because of the team they've got, because of the kind of players they've got in the unit. They've got a complete team. They've got a mentality, and they've got a squad depth. It's about them really stepping up in those big moments. Yesterday it was shaky, especially the defensive line was shaky. So especially against a team like Uruguay, who will have a lot more attacking threat up front, the midfield is going to be extremely dominant. I thought yesterday nil-nil draw and no shots on target, Uruguay versus South Korea, does not really tell a story about how good that game was, especially the kind of
Hmm.
performance which Valverde put in. I thought it was in. I thought it was. I think it was in the 88th minute when he went out to Um, slide tackle the Korean player. I don't remember who it was, but their kind of work rate Valverde was putting in was too good. So next game, Portugal are coming up against a Uruguayan setup who are going to be a tough team to beat. Let me be very honest with that, because the defensive line is extremely compact, and with Valverde in the middle alongside Nicola de la Cruz or Pelistri, I think this team is a very good team. And Bentancur was also had a decent game yesterday. So do not write off Uruguay just said because of the win which Portugal got. Valverde is one player I'll pay to watch any day of any day of the week, because he's one of the best players out there in terms of the versatility which he's got. Because I don't see a lot of players in the world who can play in the positions he can. He can play as a wing back. He can play as a center midfielder. He can play as a winger. He can play as a center defensive midfielder. He can play as a box to box midfielder. If you even deploy him in center back, he can possibly do that. And the only thing which he can possibly, and I still think he can do a decent job as a goalkeeper as well. So you give me one Fede Valverde and 10 piece of woods, I can possibly win you a Champions League, as once Sir Alex Ferguson told about Zidane.
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, he's looked very, very good. He's been a beast on the pitch for both Uruguay and Real Madrid. But that's pretty much it. We will be back soon, tonight, definitely. Soon enough, and we will be speaking about the England versus USA game and also about the previous matches that has been concluded by the time we return. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
I mean,
guys, for joining us, and we'll be back very soon.
I think we
For
have
I
a
think
question
quickly,
again, Jaren. I
yeah,
think we'll take this
please.
question as well. Fede Valverde, one of the best players in the world. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I personally think he is one of the best players in the world. He doesn't get the recognition because he plays in a team with Karim Benzema, Vinicius Junior, who takes in a lot of limelight, and he plays as a right wing, which I still think is out of position for him. I still don't know what is his best position, because he came into the team, he broke into the team as a center midfielder. Yesterday also you saw him do a fantastic job as a center midfielder. He hit the bar once, it could have possibly gone in. He would have been hero once again. Him in a park, when you put him in a park against any quality opposition, he steps up, because he has got terrific game awareness. He's got the ability to take control. He's got the ability to really take the game on by the head as well. He's got a character in him. I see a lot of leadership acumen in him, which I think Real Madrid and also Uruguay will benefit going ahead in the tournament. Uh, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be rated as one of the top 10 players in the world. At least in my list, he's in top 7 for sure. Uh, because of the ability, because of versatility he's got. I don't see any. I personally don't think there's any player in the world who can play in as many positions as Fede Valverde can and do a job like 10 on 10 in every position he plays. Because if you put any player in a position which he is not comfortable in, he might not give you the best. And especially when you play a player out of position, what he can possibly do is he can do a job, he can put in a shift for you, but not be at his best. But with Fede Valverde, you just get the opposite of that. He'll put in a shift, and he'll put in a shift where he gives us under percentage, and he's going to give you a 10 on 10 game more often than not. A day where he has a bad game, it could possibly be a rarity to see because he performs silently and he puts in a shift. Defensive work rate of Fede Valverde on the wings through the middle is one of the best I have seen, and him on the ball is a treat to watch as well.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it from our side then. Thank you so much, Abel, for joining us. We hope our fantasy tips will help you, get some rewards on Boom 11 app, which you can download, by the way, on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. But thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back tonight with some more World Cup action. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye, guys. Have a good time, all of you.